We love music. You are locked into Six Towns Radio.
We've got three guests in the studio. Ryan Dooley just popped out to the kitchen. We've got Father John and Dave Johnson, who's programme editor and also an author. He's a programme editor and website editor at Port Vale. But yes, he's got a new book, haven't you, Dave?
I have, yeah. It's been out for a couple of months now, actually, Terry.
Yeah.
Sales are going quite well. First book I've ever written, and I'm quite pleased with it.
So what made you write a children's book, Dave?
Do you know, I think I'm not the only person who's thought for years, wait, I'd like to write a book one day. I'm assuming I'm not the only person. Have you ever done that? You ever thought that?
I've always wanted to write a book, yeah. And I think a children's book would be a good start for me because I am literally a child.
Well, I'm a bit of a child at heart. I am actually a bit of a child at heart, really.
Yeah.
But I thought just fancy writing a book, and I had no idea what about, no idea whatsoever all these years. And then it all came about with my grandson. Now, I know the listeners can't see me, but you'll vouch that I don't look old enough to be a grandfather, do I, Terry?
Great-grandfather.
But anyway, great-grandfather, yeah, maybe. But my grandson, he's now 8, but last year when he was about 7, he always used to come to our house and tell me a story if he stayed the night. Tell us a story, Grandad, and you tell him all the old ones, Red Riding Hood, and go through the lot of them, And you come to a point where there's no stories left to tell. I just started making my own stories up, and he was quite happy with that, and telling him a story once another, then another. And then last year, probably about this time last year, he came to stay one night and said, I'm bored, what can I do? And you go through so many things suggesting, do this, do that, do the other. No, I don't fancy that, don't fancy it. How about write a story? Yeah. Get him a pad, get him a pen. He writes one sentence. Will he help me? So then I started doing it, and I don't know, these two main characters just came into my head. I haven't got a clue where from. Wrote a couple of sides of the A4 paper, the lined paper, and then he went to bed, and then he went home the following morning. I picked it up again that night and thought, I'll add a little bit to that, show him when he comes again, And it just snowballed from there. I put it down for a week. Things are coming in my head. I jot them down, and I get back and write a bit more. Put it down for 2 days, put it down for 2 weeks, whatever, and keep adding and adding. Even when I went on holiday, walking along the beach in Spain, and ideas were coming in my head of characters in the book or whatever, and I jot them down on a bit of paper as soon as I got back to the hotel. When I got home, typed them up, and it just that simple as that.
Yeah, because you're programme editor at the Vale, so you have to do a lot of writing for that.
I do a lot of writing, I'm writing every day for the website in particular. I mean, I do the match reports, home and away. I cover every game, home and away, so I have to do the match reports for that, but I'm also writing every day for the website and articles for the programme, but it's a little bit different than this, Well,
it's a structure of how to write a book. If you've never wrote one before...
What are you asking me for?
You've got to have a beginning, middle and end, that's as far as I know, but the rest of it, you've got to have chapters and...
I think the match reports at Port Vale you could, liken to a children's story time. Well. Some of the games I've been to, anyway.
I bet he sits down with all the players and reads them a chapter.
I think we could do with that now,
Sure, might pick them up a little bit.
We've got Father John down. We wanted somebody to talk about the Pope, and we learned about Tom Pope. But yeah, go on, carry on, Dave. We are listening.
Yeah, and you look really interested, Terry. No, some of the things in the book are actually things I've experienced in my life when I was a child,
What, like having hair?
Well, having a black nose. No, and you just sort of put a different slant on it slightly and change things around and make it apply to the main character, Just things like where he goes to his nan's and she does bakes her own bread and things like that. Those are things that happen with me, you know what I mean? So just add little things to it.
I can see Ryan writing about what you know.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It could turn this into a song.
Yeah. What's his name again? I'm struggling for a couple of tunes.
Curly Bob.
Yeah.
Get on Curly Bob.
That's the name of the second album right there. I'll put you in, Dave, don't worry.
And so you got your book, you won't get it out there. You've done little bits of press for the book, and you like Ollie Murs, you did a school tour.
I've actually been 3 schools up to now. I did 2 just last week alone. I went to where do they go now? The first one was Tittenser First School. I've been Knipsley First School and Hartfield Junior School. And if anybody's out there and they want me to come along to your school, I'll willingly come. do a little talk, read a little bit of the book, and ask questions. Got some great questions the other day at Hartfield.
Yeah.
Told you about them.
Yeah, you can tell us one because kids say the funniest things. You know, it's
They
an actual
certainly
TV
do.
show, and you think you get asked about the book. What sort of question did you get asked, Dave?
Well, I was in front of the whole school, and it seemed like everybody got their hand up in the air, and there was that many people. I just said to the teacher, any chance you can pick some out? So he's basically picking 2 or 3 from each class. And you get the usual, where do you get the ideas from? So you go through that. Is this the first book you've written? Tell them all about that, Did you used to read a lot when you were a child? Do you copy any particular author's style? And one young girl sticks her hand up and says, can you swim?
She's from Tunstall, obviously, because the baths are shut. But yeah, really interesting. So where can you get the book if you wanted a copy?
Actually, at the moment, you can only get it off me, which is not too good if you don't know me, really. But you can also download it on Kindle. Okay. I've actually sold enough now to make me money, and that's all
good.
it's bothered about in the first place. I've self-published, which cut the cost down, so the 3 books I've sold are paid for.
No, yeah, I've sold quite a few and signed a few. But yeah, if you want a copy, can they get hold of you through the Vale?
Of course you can, at any time. But like you say, if you're on Kindle, you can actually download it from there.
So it's on
anyway.
Kindle, yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's called
brilliant.
Curly Bob's Big Secret. We've got
That's
Lucas. Lucas is on work experience this week, and I get him to ask everyone who comes in a question
swim?
or two.
I was going to say, you're not going to ask me if I can swim. With you.
So he's probably got a couple of questions for all of you. But don't come to the mic, Lucas, and ask him 3 questions. Ask Dave one.
Okay, first question is about the programs. Where do you get your inspiration for the design for the programs?
For the design, I can't take all the credit for that at all. The front cover is something really different. There's a local artist named Payne Profit who came to see me, I don't know, 2 years ago, I think, and wanted to know if we would be able to use his artwork in and around the club because he does Port Vale stuff, and I asked him if he'd be willing to do me 23 different ones for free, and he agreed. And the idea was to use that for the programme covers. Unfortunately, because of how things were at the club at the time, I was prevented from doing that. This season I've managed to do is he's done me some new one, a new set of 23 actually, and everybody's talking about them, so I can't take credit for that as such. Inside, I go along to the people who do the programme, just discuss between us, and they're probably throwing in more ideas than I am, to be fair, so I'm not going to take the credit for it.
You can take a little bit.
Oh, go on.
Did you have to read a lot of children's books to get inspiration for this?
No, I didn't really, although I did borrow a couple off my grandson, just look for that little ideas, and mainly, funnily enough, nothing to do with the story, just to set it out at the front where you put the copyright things and so forth, how they done that, and how many pages did they do for the book, at what sort of price, but I didn't really get any inspiration as such, no.
Alright. Last one. The style of Curly Boy, is it based on anyone you know?
The style of?
Curly Boy, the character. And
you mean his looks or his personality?
His personality too.
Not really, although, like I said, certain things have been plucked out of my childhood and just altered slightly, I'm not telling you which bits apart from the bit I've already told you.
Thanks, Lucas. Thank you very much. He's done a good job there. Let me come back to the mic. I'm singing the Homies theme there because we know you had 7
You'll be a man, my boy.
Broadcasting to Stoke-on-Trent and the world. This is Six Towns Radio.